Hey guys, welcome to another Late Night Thoughts. So today I'm going to be doing some rankings. I know I usually reserve that for my Kickster rankings videos, but I wanted to rank my personal top 10 films of 2023. And because this one's kind of just going to be a bit more fluid, not as a formal kind of rankings thing, it's just kind of, and also I didn't see too many movies in 2023, so it's just going to be ranking the ones I have seen. So to be clear, this is not what I believe to be the 10 best films of 2023. It's just the 10 best that I saw and that I personally liked. So yeah, just to be clear on that one before I get started. So yeah, look, I'm going to start just count down from 10 to 1 and I'll mention some extra ones in there too. So starting off in 10th place was Mission Impossible 7, which was Dead Reckoning Part 1. I was disappointed with this film when it came out. I still liked it. I think I just had very high expectations, but it was disappointing to me, and I think that was kind of reflected at the box office too. Just didn't quite hit the same marks as the previous one in Fallout, and I just had some issues with the plot, some inconsistencies, some plot holes, and that. But the action was still great, but yeah, just had issues with it. Number 9 was Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. I thought this was a solid film. I enjoyed it. I can't speak too highly of it. I feel like, okay, it's way better than any other Marvel stuff we're getting these days. But still, if you just look at it on its own, I feel like it's a pretty average kind of film. I don't think it's great. But yeah, there was heart to it. You know, the storyline with the animals with Rocket Raccoon, was very touching. And I think it was a nice conclusion to the Guardians of the Galaxy. But yeah, not a great film, but decent. 8th place is Barbie. So this one to me is probably my most polarizing film of 2023. It was such a, every time I think of it, I have new thoughts about it in terms of what I liked and what I disliked about it, and just how it played into the whole political discussion regarding, how woke it was and whatever. I think there was some really interesting talking points with it, and that's why I have it on my list, because I do kind of enjoy that it's kind of toes that line between, well, is it feminist? Is it not? Where does it stand? So, and I think, and there were some great performances in it. Particularly, I loved Ryan Gosling as Ken. I thought he stole the show. So yeah, I definitely enjoyed Barbie. Number 7 was Godzilla Minus One, foreign film, obviously Japanese film of Godzilla. I just saw it recently. I thought it was really good, solid film. Yeah, it really kind of flies in the face of Hollywood, showing how to really do it with a very small budget. This film was made with only $15 million, and yet it looks fantastic, particularly compared to Hollywood blockbusters that cost 200, 300 million. This one looks just as good almost as those do for way less. And so I was quite impressed, and it was just a good traditional story of a monster film and all that. And so, yeah, Godzilla Minus One in 7th. Number 6 was Gran Turismo. This was another solid film for me. I was kind of surprised. I thought, when I saw the promotions for it, I thought, oh, this could be lame. I don't like it. I used to play the game as a kid. It's not really a video game movie. I wouldn't call that. In fact, it's a true story about a boy who played Gran Turismo and then ends up driving cars for real and racing them and having success with that. So it was kind of a nice biopic in that regard. I thought it was really well made, and it was, yeah, just a very standard story, and yeah, nothing too crazy about that. Number 5, this one might be controversial because I know it got a lot of hate, but The Flash. I couldn't help but just kind of enjoy the film when I saw it. I know it has problems. I know it's insanely dumb. I know the CGI was atrocious. I know all those things, and I can't stand Ezra Miller. That said, I still just kind of enjoyed it. I liked the heart of the film, about his mom and all that. I liked those story elements, even if they were a bit inconsistent at times. I felt it did have a heart at its core. It was cool seeing Keaton's Batman back for it, and I thought they kind of handled the characters pretty well individually. And yeah, I was pleasantly surprised by that film. I thought that was going to be an absolute disaster, and a lot of people think it was one, but personally I thought it was fine. So yeah, The Flash in 5th place. 4th place is Super Mario Brothers. So I played a fair bit of Mario growing up, particularly Mario Kart. So I was kind of excited for this film, and this film was a massive success. I thought the film was a nice introduction to their, whatever Nintendo-verse, whatever they're going for here. I think it's a nice starting point where they kind of hit a lot of the notes they needed to please the fans. A lot of Easter eggs, a lot of nostalgia bait and all that stuff. At the same time, it had a nice, cute little story, about brothers and brotherly love and all that sorts of things, and just kind of very traditional story, nothing too crazy about it. But yeah, I definitely enjoyed Super Mario Brothers, and I'm looking forward to seeing what they do with that universe going forward, because I feel like it could be a massive moneymaker for, who was it, Universal and Nintendo, obviously. Number 3 was The Creator. So this was obviously a film, it didn't do well at the box office, but I thought it was a very thought-provoking film, particularly in this day and age. It's obviously to do with AI, so it's talking about a post-apocalyptic society which is divided between humans and AI, humanoids, I guess, that are divided, and it very much plays into what we're dealing with today with AI. And I thought it was a really, really well-made movie. The graphics in it were phenomenal. Not the most original thing in the world, but I thought it was just nice to see a new sci-fi film that was just an original concept, not based on any franchise or anything like that. And it had a heart to it too. I liked the message about it, about kind of how we would deal with that kind of world. And I thought a lot of it was very, it's kind of spot on as to, I think, how that would go down. So yeah, The Creator in third place. In second place was John Wick Chapter 4. I mean, when you really analyze this film, there is not really a story there. But I am one of the people that believes John Wick films are not for the story. The first one has a pretty simple story, and it was never meant to be a franchise, but they've just turned it into this franchise that's just all about putting John in situations where he just has to kill a million men and just do it in creative ways. I got what I wanted with John Wick Chapter 4, and I like that there was even that little nice touch at the end where he had to do something beyond just being an assassin fighting for his life. He actually had to be kind of a hero to save who was his adversary the whole time. And I really like that. And if it's the end of John Wick, then so be it. I was happy with that conclusion. Otherwise, but there's more, great. I know what I'm getting with that franchise, and so I know the story is ridiculous, and I know that the world makes no sense, but it's dumb fun, and I'm here for it. I've got no problems with it. Before I reveal number 1, I'm going to mention a few surprises and also some disappointments from the year. So in the surprise column, there was a little film with Jennifer Lawrence called No Hard Feelings. It was essentially a romantic comedy. In this day and age, we don't get many comedies, and so I was pleasantly surprised by that film. Nothing original whatsoever, no original concepts, not even any original jokes. It was just kind of nice to see an old-fashioned film like that. The kind of film we used to get felt like every week, in the thousands, but we just don't get it anymore. And I thought that was a nice film, and I enjoyed Jennifer Lawrence in it. Another film I saw was called Jesus Revolution. That was another little film. It's really just based in the 60s, and it's about a movement with these hippies who, align with a church to then bring, to grow the church, and they bring along a lot of hippies and they make it into this big thing, but bringing them together, and there's obviously conflict with that. And it's based on a true story, and I'd never heard of it, but it was kind of interesting to hear about that kind of aspect of the hippie side, because I always kind of hear about the side that was more anti-government, pushing back on those traditions, but it's kind of nice to hear about a faction of hippies that were more religiously inclined and wanted to kind of revolutionize the church for better or worse. And I thought that was really interesting film. Another surprise was Sound of Freedom. So this was kind of a hot button topic for a while there when it came out, particularly because it was dealing with some very sensitive subject matter, and it's loosely based on true events. And I thought it was not the best executed film in terms of just filmmaking, but the story very impactful, very moving, and I think a lot to appreciate with that. And we need more films like that really call out the real injustices of society, and that's a big one. On anything that comes to children, I'm here for it to see. I always want to protect children. We want to see these kind of films get made, even if they are tough films to watch. It's not an enjoyable film to watch, but it is an important one. So then there's the disappointments. So to me, Extraction 2, I didn't hate the film, but it was a disappointment. I watched it right after watching the first one. So I only watched the first one a few days before the second one came out. And I really liked the first one, but the second one, I felt they went too much into the John Wick territory. And, even though I mentioned before, I love the John Wick franchise, I feel like trying to just do that thing is not its forte. Like it should carve out its own niche, not just try and go too much to that. And especially with the end of the film where they're trying to looks like they're trying to expand this Extraction universe and make a whole lore out of it, like John Wick. I feel it could be going down the wrong track. I didn't hate the film. I think it had great action sequences, particularly that jail scene was insane, but didn't love it. Other disappointment, this is probably my biggest disappointment of the year. That was Indiana Jones, The Dial of Destiny. that was just an atrocious film. I don't know what more I can say about that. To me, it was an assassination of a beloved character. I hated everything that they did in that film. Um, it makes Kingdom of the Crystal Skull look like a masterpiece. That's how bad I thought the fifth one was. And yeah, I refuse to acknowledge this film's existence as part of that franchise. It's just leave it, Crystal Skull in there. That's a nice ending. Say what you want about the content of that film, but the way Indiana Jones ends up in that film is great. He's happily married. The son, what they did now in this fifth one, terrible. Didn't like it. And then the only other film I was disappointed by was 65. You might not have heard of this one. It's with Adam Driver. It was basically just this dinosaur flick where he goes back in time and ends up on Earth 65 million years ago and encounters dinosaurs and he's saving a little girl in the process. It's kind of a story of found family, you could say, but I didn't like it. I didn't think it was well executed, and I didn't find that there was any meaning to the film. It was just, you were kind of waiting to see, okay, what's the meaning here? What's the greater reason behind all this? And it just wasn't there. And so it just turned into a simple survival film that went for an hour and a half, and it was very forgettable. So yeah, that was a disappointment, especially someone who likes to see a good dinosaur flick. But yeah, that was disappointing. And now for my number one film of 2023, that film was Air. If you don't, many of you might not have seen this film, but it stars Matt Damon, Ben Affleck, Chris Tucker, Jason Bateman, a few big names. And it was a film literally about the creation of the Air Jordans. I thought this film was phenomenal. And it turned a story that not many people know, and it made it so fascinating and even made it intense. Like we obviously know what the outcome of that history is. This is a biopic essentially about Michael Jordan without really having Michael Jordan in it. And it was fascinating to see how it came to be. And I thought the film was just really well made. And there's a reason that this film is number one and I don't even have Oppenheimer on this list, is because you could really compare those films. Like when you break it down, those two films are really about a man who has a genius idea that could change the world. That's really the crux of those stories, and that could be very easily compared. And I felt Air executed it really well, whereas I had a lot of problems with Oppenheimer, which is why it's not on my list. But it's not. It wasn't. I didn't find it bad enough to be a disappointment. I didn't find it a surprise. It's just not in my top 10. So yeah, Air I thought was a really, really good film, and definitely my top. It was my easy favorite of the year, and yeah, that's all I got. So yeah, that's my top 10 films of 2023, guys. I'd love to hear what you thought. If you had what your picks were, your top 10. If you have criticisms of mine, happy to hear them. But yeah, that's all I got for now, guys. And please like this video and subscribe to my channel, and we'll talk to you next time. Bye.